following podcast may be explicit. One Joe Young presents Adventures from the Shed, a tabletop RPG podcast. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com. You are finding us online right here, right now, Adventures from the Shed online. We are going to be playing something new tonight, but before we get to that, we're going to go around the table and say hi. We'll start with this guy right over there.
Hello, I'm Zeb. Just a guy.
Just a guy.
On to the next.
Hi, Randy. Hi, I'm a guy too.
All right. And out of order.
I'm Eli, who got skipped.
In my order, it kind of, yeah.
Sorry,
are we going around?
You were forgiven. We still love
That's
you.
all right. And
Hey, I'm going to say the best for last anyway. So, hey, Joe.
Well, thanks, Randy. I'm Joe. I'm the best for last. And
You gotta put a spoiler warning on that.
It definitely really should. So I hinted at it earlier. We're going to actually be playing a game that we have not played on the podcast before. It is a new system to 3 of the 4 people on the on your screen and in your ears right now. And to get us into what it is we're about to do, I'm going to kick it over to Eli, who's going to have the keys to running this game and the adventure for us for however long it takes.
Take it away, Eli.
All right. So we are going to be playing Chronicles of Darkness today. For those of you who might know it, you might know it under a different name, New World of Darkness, as in informal / official name. It's a little funky.
And why?
For those of you who don't know of this series at all, it is a near modern game setting using a D10 dice pool system for its rolling. The game typically revolves around exploring the supernatural aspects of life, as well as focusing on Joe on the screen here before cutting back to the rest of the group.
This is a D10 for those who don't know.
There you go.
Randy holds a D10 up to the camera, and we are all enlightened.
Yeah.
World of Darkness is the umbrella term for the setting, which contains games such as Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, and Mage the Ascension, or Vampire the Requiem, Werewolf the Forsaken, and Mage the Awakening, depending on which version you know. Thankfully, this is a neutral version. It is the baseline version of those games. This is mortal people doing mortal things, mostly.
Nice. I like the mostly part.
Well,
Baseline?
The baseline. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Randy,
First you threw your drumstick at your microphone, and then you went to a baseline. Cool.
prop comedy is an underappreciated form of art.
It is.
For sure.
This specific chronicle that we will be running here is an investigative kind of CSI meets Ghost Hunters storyline. We will have our 3 players here, Joe, Zeb, Randy, playing a group of investigators as they get to the bottom of a missing persons case. Well, 6 missing persons cases. But we can get into that a little bit later. For now, we should go over the actual character creation process. We've gotten all the way there for one of you, some of the way there for another, and Randy, you said you had the character concept. Did you put them to paper?
Not yet, no. Sorry.
All right, so we can walk through that for a bit here. As I said earlier, the game uses a D10 dice pool system. On your character sheets, you'll notice that each skill, each attribute, pretty much everything on that page has a bunch of little circles next to it. Those represent your dots. On the screen here, we have a character sheet pulled up for Crawford Bartlett, right?
Crawdad.
It's Bartlett.
Bartlett.
Yeah.
Bartlett. The time for memorizing character names has not quite yet arisen.
We'll put them on our tags on the screen. It'll help the GM as well. Or I think actually I don't know. I don't know if I'm spoiling anything, but you're the storyteller in this, right? Not the
That is
GM.
correct. So the instead of using a term like Dungeon Master, which is owned by a certain company, or Game Master, which is a more catch-all term, the World of Darkness uses what they call the storyteller system, and the person who runs the whole show is called the storyteller. I'm the one who will guide the players through this adventure and ensure that they, I don't know, go through the hero's journey or something.
Almost definitely, or something for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's this party for sure.
Yeah.
So back onto the character sheet, we have all of these dots. Each dot will represent one D10. So for example, Crawford here has an intelligence of 3 dots and in academics of 2 dots. If I ask for them to roll me an intelligence academics to say study a new field of science, then they would roll 5 dice for me, 5 D10s. Crawford, would you go ahead and do that now?
Damn well better. So when
you have 0 modifiers to this.
You have to click the right ones first, I think. You wouldn't ask the wrong person. I put Zeb's character sheet up because he was doing something else.
Well, it is what it is.
But we would end up rolling 5d10.
Yes, it would be 5d10. So I will go ahead and there it is.
We got some numbers.
So
all bad numbers. From what I understand, sorry.
In a dice pool system, you have the difficulty number. For this game, it will be set at 8. So 8, 9, and 10 is considered a success. Anything below that is not a success. In this example roll, we have no successes and a 1, which is considered a failure. A failure.
At least on our screen, it is highlighted red to indicate something bad. Yeah.
Yes. A failure is just no successes. A dramatic failure is when you get no successes and at least a single 1 roll. So in this case, with that intelligence academics roll, not only would they have been unable to learn anything of value from their study session, chances are something bad happened in the middle of it. Werewolf attack, why not? You studied so badly that a werewolf came to stop you.
Ew.
Dramatic failures can be compared to a botch in other games, or as a slang term in D&D, where it doesn't technically exist. Had you rolled any successes, the number of successes that you got would have dictated the quality of your study. A single success is typically all that's necessary to achieve something. So your study session on a single success would have gone well, and you would have learned something new, perhaps something you could apply to whatever scenario you had found yourself in.
He tried it again, Eli, with the same end result. I mean, and I guess maybe this is a good time to look at the interpretation of this. When it isn't a 8+ or a 1, is the number just flat irrelevant? It just doesn't mean anything?
Exactly.
Okay. So in this case, for both of his rolls, like the first one was a 5, a 4, a 2, a 1, and a 5, means the only one that counts is the 1. And then the second one, 5, 7, 6, 6, 1, same thing. Even though the total was actually higher, we don't care about totals. It's what each individual die has.
Correct.
Cool.
You could boil the system down to D4s because of this. However, D4s don't roll nearly as well as D10s.
Yeah. And it's definitely, I like the idea, at least, because it's more of a there's more of that empty spot, like I said, right from the number 2 all the way to the number 7, because those are pretty common for rolls. So most of the time you're not getting a success, and then you only have a 1 in 10 chance of failing instead of like a 1 in 4 if it was a D4. And then you have what 8, 9, 10. That's 3 in 10 chance of a success.
Exactly. And an important thing to understand with the use of any of these roles, it is assuming that you are under some sort of stress, and stress manifests in different ways. Something that's in the moment, perhaps like climbing a fence, as long as you don't have abysmal stats in your physical attributes, you'll be able to climb the fence. But if gangster is chasing you, if you're getting shot at, or there's a really scary dog on the other side, you'll now be under stress. Now you will have to roll. There are two types of actions, well, three, of actions that you can take when you have to roll. One is your regular action. That's something that will resolve in this instant, in this turn, so to speak. You roll it right now, you get the effect right now. There's an extended action, which is something that takes place over the course of hours, days, weeks. Every extended action will be considered to be under stress because you never know what can happen over the course of a day or whatnot. There's also reflexive, which is going to be most of your contested rolls. If somebody is grappling you and you're trying to get out of that grapple, that's going to be a contested roll. So their grapple is the actual skill check, and you roll against them. With a basic understanding of the dice being used and what the dots represent, I'm assuming, we can go ahead and move on to the actual character creation. Does anybody have any questions about dice before we move on?
It mostly makes sense to me. I think we'll get a bigger grasp once we start rolling too. But it makes sense to me. I also read that something like, I don't know if you're going to apply this, but it said something like 10 again, where if you roll a 10,
yes,
you can roll it again as long as... go ahead.
In the base rules of the game, there is the 10 again rule, where if you roll a 10 on any of your dice, you get to roll again. And every time you roll a 10, you are entitled to another roll. You don't have to take it. The system that we're using right now will automatically apply it, as it's typically in your best interest to do so, but you may not want to.
So is it like an only good thing? Like if, say you rolled a 10, that counts as one success. Then you roll again, you get a 5. That counts as nothing. Does that then take away your original success, or is it just
No?
Okay.
The only thing that can take away successes is a 1.
Okay, so you're always running that 1 in 10 chance that
Correct.
you screw yourself over.
Yep. So if you have at least 2 successes and you roll a 10 on one of them, you're pretty much guaranteed to not fail, even if you roll a 1. But if you only got 1 success and it was a 10, you have to ask yourself, do I really want to risk it?
Mm.
That does bring me to another point on it. The chance die. If for whatever reason your dice pool is reduced to 0 or less, you will always have 1 d10 that you can roll. Nothing is applied to it. It is just 1 die. You've got a 3 in 10 chance of success, a 1 in 10 chance of a dramatic failure.
So would that be like, just looking at Zeb's sheet that he has up there now, we look at something like under the skills, mental, it says -3 if you're unskilled. So he has nothing under crafts. So that would be a -3. So say it was what, intelligence and crafts, it would make it a 0 because he has 3 dots there and the -3 from the skill. So that means he still gets the 1 chance die.
Correct.
Cool. I think I understand it.
If he had to roll a wits craft, he's reduced to -1 dice. He's still entitled to the single chance die.
Nice. Okay.
All right, then. So we can now move on to the actual character creation. Zeb, your character here is pretty much good to go. The only thing that is missing at this point looks to be the merits. Merits are a very niche subset of skills. You could look at it as So we'll go ahead and get to that once we get everybody else caught up to speed. Joe,
Yeah.
what aspects of the character have you already gotten down?
So I may actually have the same amount of stuff as Zeb now, because I started to once I understood the where to add the dots in and the number of dots to add, I just went and did it. So I think I might be good. Let me go ahead and share mine, and let's see. That would be that one. Share my character sheet.
Okay.
All right, and I have, like I said, most of the dots are filled in. So I think actually at this point I have all of them. So I had put the first off when creating the character, the first step is I'm sorry, second step is under the attributes. I can put 5 dots, 4 dots, and 3, and I did 5 under the intelligence and 4 or under the first one. I'm sorry, under mental, the second one under physical, and then the third under social. And then I did for the skills, you can add 11, 7, and then 4. I did the 11 under mental, I did the 7 under social, and the 4 under physical.
Yep. Everything looks good to me. So then we can go ahead and get Randy caught up.
Awesome, because I have barely filled out the sheet whatsoever.
That's quite all right.
Let's see. Can I open? Is that Isaac? Can I open up Isaac's sheet? No, I can't. So Randy, you may have to share that if we're going to look at it.
Let's see. Present, share screen. All right. What's
And
that
then if
say
you just
there?
pick the tab that you have going with it, so like when you go to share it,
I
let's see
think that's
if
the one.
if I can say it right. Yeah, under share screen, if you can find the right tab for Orthus the Keepers, the name of it that he shared.
Yeah, it's that one. Okay, share.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Should
And
be
then let's get
there
that.
now.
All right.
All right. So far I got a random name I made up real fast. Player name, virtue, and vice I chose. And since he's immortal, it said it doesn't really matter. So just choose basically their job is what I saw. So scientist.
Your faction here will be BAAC, as that is the group that you are all working under.
BAAC.
I can put that too.
Because we want our
is that
job back.
Is that an actual acronym that we'll know at some point?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
That will be explained later once we start getting into the setting discussion.
It stands for badasses are coming.
It's not entirely accurate, but I mean, it's really up to y'all. So,
all right.
You have name for the character name, player for the player name, virtue and vice. These are used to kind of guide your role play and how your character reacts to stressful situations and interacting with others.
Yep.
Virtue and vice also have a mechanical benefit that we'll get into in just a minute. Your character's age, your faction. The chronicle will be the name of the overarching story or set of stories that we will be telling in this setting. This chronicle is Orthus the Keepers.
Oh, okay.
It is not Eli's story. I actually named this one. Concept would be where you put your character's job or what archetype they fit into so that you can get into the mindset of that character. In old Mage the Ascension character that I ran, his concept was ex-televangelist, as that's what he used to be. That's the way he carried himself and presented himself. This big bombastic character preaching the word of God, because that used to be his day job.
Awesome. I like it. You guys play that for fun, or do you record that?
That is an older game I played when I was in high school. It was just a game played in a dude's back room. It was a fun time. Great time to be had.
Sounds awesome.
Group name is not important right now. It's really something that y'all will make up for yourselves as your adventure goes along. Technically speaking, you would be Field Team 12. for a group name. As far as within your faction, you would be referred to as Field Team 12. Perhaps when you achieve something of note, you might get a nickname.
So
Okay.
Well, it is 12. It is, yeah.
For now.
Yeah.
Field Team 12. All right. So attributes. You were talking about points to put in these.
Yep. So attributes is divided in three, I guess, two different ways. You'll notice that each line of your attributes is listed under power or finesse or resistance. Those are the broader, those are the broader categories. They apply mostly to traits that will be taken care of automatically by the sheet here as you fill it in.
Okay.
However, they're also boxed in together based on whether they are a mental attribute, a physical attribute, or a social attribute. You have 5, 4, and 3 dots to spend, and you choose which box to spend those number of dots in.
Okay.
So
5,
if you
4,
want-
and 3.
If you want a smarter character, you might want to put your 5 extra dots into the mental attributes. A stronger character, you might want to put the 5 into the physical.
One thing
So
too,
on
I
and so
don't know if we talked about it, Eli. Maybe I just wasn't listening, but if you put 5 points into an attribute or skill, doesn't it cost 2 points?
Yes, the 5th at this stage, the 5th dot will cost 2 points.
Okay.
So you really got to want it if you're going to 5 to start. Yeah.
You've really got to be careful.
This will be the 3.
Okay.
Although I guess it makes a little more sense when you're looking at it from the attributes instead of the skills, because you do get a free dot. So if you want to go to 5, it really only costs 5.
Yes.
Whereas on the other one, if you want to go to 5, it costs 6.
Okay, I placed them.
Yeah. We got a bunch of smarty pants, don't we?
Yes, everybody seems to be playing some type of nerd.
It almost makes me think, depending on how I want to play my character, I might switch intelligence to resolve. But I'll see.
I mean,
think about that. Yeah.
Who knows? Why don't you all go ahead and change your name from group name from Field Team 12 to Research Team 12?
They're like, these guys should not be in the field.
I mean, technically speaking, you would all still be the appropriate rank to be a field team. It's just you all specialize in something different.
Yeah.
You boys team lost. Where are you heading?
We're heading to the field team.
No, you're not. You're heading to the research tent. Go.
Damn it.
They caught on to us.
Now, your skills we can get to. The skills will function the same way that the attributes do, except here you will have 11, 7, and 5 to spend.
4.
11,
4.
7,
4, sir.
11, 7, and 4.
3 from the Holy Grail. But anyway, it's been a long time since we had a Holy Grail joke in the podcast. But
4.
I tried.
We don't get enough grenades.
5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8.
How did you explain the levels earlier, Eli? You said like a 4 was like
11.
You're like
So
a master.
a
Yeah,
zero.
How many
dots
dots you have in a thing? Okay.
The scale that we're working with, each skill can have up to 5 dots. 0 dots is somebody who has no clue what they're doing in that field. A 1 is somebody who has a passing knowledge. I used off camera an example of for the brawl skill. 0 means that I've never thrown a punch in my life, but a brawl of 1 would mean that I know how to throw a punch. I know how to not break my fingers. I know I need to, twist my hip to get power in it, but I wouldn't know any proper form, any real techniques. Then going all the way up to 5 dots is the peak of human capabilities. You cannot get any higher than a 5. So long that you're human. So
And then, If it was like strength and brawl and you had a lot of dots in strength, then you just have more and more chances of succeeding at whatever it is.
Correct.
Right.
With Crawford, he had a 4 in drive when we went over the character earlier. So a 4 in that specific skill would represent a professional stunt driver, or at least somebody of that capacity.
Nice.
Somebody, a stunt driver in a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah.
That's what that would be.
Whereas if you have no dots, you're Vin Diesel in a Fast and Furious movie.
Okay, hold up.
You think he knows how to
ain't
drive? No, he probably has 1 dot in driving. I would give him that.
I ain't about to be throwing any shade on my boy Vin Diesel. All right. I respect the Chronicles of Riddick too much.
How about The Rock then?
I was gonna say he was an Iron Giant. He destroyed himself for us.
You put some respect on his name.
I guess I probably should have said, instead of the stunt driver, the actor would be the one with the 0 or 1 dots. Yeah. Without naming an actor. I'm sorry. I went there.
That's fair enough. In the drive skill specifically, 0 dots would mean you just don't know how to drive. I, in real life, would have 0 dots in drive. I know how a vehicle functions. I know push a pedal, make it go. I don't know how to drive.
It's a long, thin one on the right, buddy.
You slam on it like
the
a
small
kick
one
pedal.
on the left here.
Uh,
Why is it so
Yeah.
far removed from the other pedals? Clutch? What? I'm not gonna clutch it. I'm gonna push down on it with my foot. You stupid.
I'm gonna stomp on it. Why is it the stomp pedal?
Every break is an emergency.
Exactly. That is what 0 drive means.
Every break ends in a break. Oh.
All right. So now that you have your skills sorted out, the skills section will end with specializations. So you have 3 specializations that you can dictate for your skills. A specialization is a particular field within that skill that you are that you have an affinity for, that you practice just a little bit more than other areas. The specializations are really up to you. You will decide what they are, what is covered by them, but they do have to be fairly niche. If I have an NPC in a different game who has a really high persuasion skill, and I chose one of his specializations to be gaslighting, as that's how he works that. But then something like I don't know, empathy wouldn't be a proper specialization, because you can put empathy into pretty much any application of the skill.
So let me see if we can come up with something, at least one for mine, because of how I had been thinking of my character. I want to actually, let me share that again so we can see my sheet as I'm saying it.
How do I unshare mine, or do you just?
You don't have to. I got it.
Okay.
I can just switch it, and we can leave yours there so that we can just put it back up on screen whenever.
Okay.
But for mine, the way I wanted to play my character, like I was saying before we started recording, the concept I came up with was oblivious engineer. He never really cares about what's going on, but he can always fix stuff that breaks. So my thought there was intelligence was important and science was important. So I put the 4 on intelligence and 4 dots in science, because to me, at least, the idea would be he fixes things without realizing he's fixing them, because he kind of intuits the science of it. So I'm trying to think of like a specialization that might go with that. Mainly for me, at least, I put dots in computer and occult. And again, my thought was, if it runs on electricity or supernatural energy, I'm like more inclined to be able to fix it. So
okay.
What would you think like might make sense as a specialization for that?
With the description that you're giving me, I've got 2 points of advice for you here. Sure. To answer your question directly, I would recommend a jury rigging specialization. If you can always just get it working again, it doesn't really mean you got it working the right way.
I'm
So I would-
almost thinking because I wanted to focus either on electrical or spiritual, so I'm almost thinking like electrical improvisation
hot
or
wiring.
electronics improvisation, right?
And the second point that I would advise you to do here is take points off of science and put them into crafts instead, as
So that
crafts
makes
will
more
be
sense.
handling any sort of repair skills.
Okay. That's a good point. So that's good to know that that's part of the stuff that without reading far enough ahead, I probably didn't understand what they meant and just taking them at face value.
That's all good. I mean, when the normal person thinks crafts, they think like, construction paper, glue, and popsicle sticks. I know I did when I first got into this game.
Yeah. So
Um,
I'm almost thinking I probably want to do it like
Well, you were in
that.
high school, so
all
I think
right. Look,
science
you
is
don't need
still
to throw
going
it
to
at
be
me like
important.
that.
you were
So I've
taking
kind of
home ec and all
adapted that a little, and I just switched it to just to be 2 on computer, and I'm going to go to 4 in craft and leave 2 in occult and leave 1 on science because I think science will still be important in some way for some reason. The word science sounds good.
Undoubtedly. You don't become an engineer and not have an understanding of science.
Yeah.
You know why a baking soda volcano works.
So
That definitely helps me with what I'm thinking for specialization. So I'll ponder on that while we do some other.
You have 3 specializations that you can assign to any skill, and you can assign any number of specializations to a skill.
so they're just 3 free points essentially.
Effectively, yes.
Okay.
Each specialization, when you are using it, will add in a +1 modifier to your dice pool. Because it's your specific area of expertise, you've got a better chance of success. So you could have 3 specializations in one skill. You could just have, technically speaking, you could even put specializations in skills that you don't. Hey, get off the table, cat. In skills that you don't have any dots in, technically speaking.
Right.
So if you wanted to mitigate some of the penalties, you could attempt that. An important thing to note is that only one specialty will be active at a time.
Okay.
So if I took jury rigging on a craft specialization, but then also put I don't know, user manual training. I'm doing one or the other. I'm either jury rigging it or I'm looking through the user manual to figure out the best solution.
When you were talking about like persuasion, I'm like, you're actually going to persuade someone to read the freaking manual. that's your extra skill. You can persuade anyone to read the manual. Because that would be a really good skill for my line of work. If I could persuade anyone else to read the damn instructions.
Oh boy.
Yeah. IT folks have a special place in their heart for that thought.
Yeah, don't get me started about the 30-minute conversation I have with my boss about this very thing today.
Powers of persuasion. So one of the things I'm actually looking at here, and I may be jumping ahead, so bear with me if I am, but are we going to talk about merits soon? Because this is one that's a little confusing to me.
Yes, so we've done the attributes, we've done the skills, we've gotten to the skill specialties. We don't have a supernatural template to add, so we'll skip that step. Now we'll go to advantages. Most of the advantages have been taken care of by the Roll20 sheet, which we're using. I do see that on Randy's sheet, your health looks a little too high. With
It's
1
where it
stamina and 5 size, you should only have 6 health. Are you able to adjust that at all?
Crap ton of dots. I have 8 dots on health.
Hold on.
Those don't move.
Did I just fix it? I may have just fixed it. Regardless.
If you did, it's not on his screen yet. But
I don't
see.
Try adjusting your stamina.
pure stamina.
Yes, in your attributes, the middle tier.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, okay. I see that now. Oh yeah,
right.
that changed the number.
Okay,
sweet. So with that sorted, In
Oh, I love that.
advantages,
That's great.
we will also discuss how those things work. So your defense, which is the lowest of your dexterity or wits, is the number of dice that are immediately subtracted from an attacker. So if somebody's coming at you with a pipe and they have 6 dice to roll, if your defense is 2, they now only have 4 dice to roll. Defense does not apply to ranged attacks. Anything that uses the firearm skill, defense does not apply to. Armor will, but that's for equipment.
Let me
do not
ask
worry
this
about
then, because when you had said earlier contested roll, I always think of both sides roll, but it sounds the way you just worded it, it sounds like you just reduce the amount that the initiator rolls.
It's both. So
Okay.
the defense is the always on, and the contested is the circumstantial.
Okay.
So
I
you will
think I get
always
that.
have defense applied. That'll always be taken away from their pool. And if an action calls for a contested roll, then any successes you get will also reduce.
Okay. All right.
Health. The health system in this game is a little fun. So you'll see you'll have anywhere from 5 to about 7 health. That is, of course, your actual physical health, how functional your body is. When you start taking damage towards the end of your health bar, you'll start incurring penalties to all your rolls. -1 die, -2 dice, -3 dice. If you're put to aggravated damage beyond your final health point, you die. That's it. Game over. There's just nothing else. There are 3 damage types. There are bashing, lethal, and aggravated. Bashing damage is anything that's just meant to make contact, anything that's supposed to hurt you just because it hit you. So think a sledgehammer, a fist being thrown against a wall. Lethal damage is going to be anything that is intended to puncture the skin. Any sort of blade, any firearm, being impaled on something. That is going to be lethal damage.
I hate when that happens.
Aggravated damage is you can think of it in one of 2 ways. 1, massive trauma. 2, something that you would need a doctor to treat. Think being set on fire. Think chemical burns. Having your soul torn asunder by a mage who decides you don't get to live with your soul anymore. Aggravated damage is the rarest type of all. So it's not something that we'll really have to worry about. But mechanically speaking, each damage type will heal at its own rate. Bashing is you heal 1 per 15 minutes of in-game time. Lethal is 1 for every day of in-game time. And aggravated is 1 for every week. That's not to say that the after effects of the wounds aren't there, but just that your body is now functional to the point it was before the injury. Like a chemical burn is still going to have all that, raw skin and, prone to infection, but I'll be able to swing a bat just as good as I used to. That's what health is supposed to represent and how it heals up.
Is there like quick heals, like stim packs or bandages or anything like that that is part of mechanics?
No, you can increase the rate at which something heals with a proper medicine roll, but that is assuming that you have an environment that isn't hostile to the wound healing, as well as having the proper tools to do so.
Okay.
If it could also be used to mitigate the penalties of certain wounds. So if I said, "Oh, you've been cut open, you've been disemboweled," you now have a -3 penalty to all physical rolls. If somebody with the medicine skill is like, "All right, can I like patch him up? I've got thread, I got a needle, I'll stitch him." There's a table in that alley back there for some reason.
That's where crafts comes in.
Yeah,
Stitch it back together.
you could use a medicine check to remove the penalty for a scene or 2, but you will
Hmm.
still have the health loss.
Okay,
Uh,
that's cool.
the only quick heal type things is going to be like super drugs or magic.
Oh yeah, and they're indistinguishable from each other.
Yeah, really and truly.
Yeah.
If after health is initiative, initiative works just like it does in many other role-playing games where you're going to be rolling your initiative stat, and how many successes determines when you go. Anybody who has the same number as somebody else is technically going at the exact same time. So neither action resolves before the other, both go simultaneously. That's especially important for things like damage over time effects or special gear or magic effects. As far as how we'll handle it, we'll still go in a turn order, but in the resolution of these effects, they will happen at the same time. After initiative, we have morality, which is one of the more interesting stats. Morality is your I don't want to say how good of a person you are, but that's really what the game presents it as. It's a stat that shows how willing you are to show compassion, obey the law, do the right thing. A morality of 7, which is what you guys are all at, is the average person. Someone with a morality of 7 could reasonably rationalize stealing a loaf of bread for somebody else because they're hungry, knocking out a dude who's getting way too aggressive with your friends, breaking somebody's headlights so they get stopped by a police officer because you know they're gonna do something fucked up if they get to their destination.
Cool.
Something where it is a harmful act, so to speak, but it is always to somebody's betterment, is gonna be within morality 7. When you perform acts beyond that, seeking out harm against somebody, purposely screwing somebody over, your morality score will lower. And when your morality score lowers, you have a chance of gaining a derangement. It's you will roll morality, your new morality score, and on a failure or a dramatic failure, you will gain a derangement. Derangements typically don't have mechanical effects. They're all about how you role play your character. If as a derangement I gain a phobia, it is now my responsibility as the player to role play that how I would be interacting with that phobia if it comes up. If it activates a flight response and I'm supposed to leave when I see I don't know, fucking blood everywhere, it's gonna feel a little trash because you're now can't really participate in the scene, but you have that active phobia because as a consequence of your actions. It is something that is supposed to shape how the game turns out. You know what? If I wasn't as fucked up as I was, I don't think I would have abandoned my friends there. And I think that's something I need to work on. That then allows you to seek redemption, to raise your morality score back up. And you can, of course, go above 7 if you are actively seeking to do good things in the world and help people out. Morality should not be a big deal, at least at the start of this chronicle. Morality usually kicks in towards the midpoint, as that's when people have had time to really understand their character and what they want from them, a better understanding of how to play them. And was somebody about to speak up there?
I was jokingly about to say, so I'll start with 2. And
Oh, you do not want to start with 2.
I will start with the.
I'll start with 2 if Joe's allowed to start with 9.
No, that's not how that works.
Nah.
After morality, we'll go to size. Size is just 5 for most human. If you're a particularly big boy, like, oh, I want to be some, homegrown corn-fed motherfucker, then your size may go up to 6.
May
That
be
is-
explicit.
Yeah.
That's really a conversation to be had with the storyteller at the time. Hey, I want to be this big guy. I think it works for this character concept, or I want to be this itty bitty boy. That's something you'll have to speak with and get the go ahead on. After size is speed. Speed is the number of yards that you can move in a scene. It's not really important for the way I run things. There's really no need to measure it. If it's within eyesight, you can usually get there over the course of a turn and still do something else. It's really going to matter in things like chase scenes, though.
Cool. That's what I was going to ask. If it really comes in, like if we're chasing something and it has a speed of 12 and none of us has a speed of 12, we're not going to catch it.
Not
there's a
necessarily. Chase scenes have their own sets of rules that introduce obstacles that could reduce somebody's speed or improve somebody else's speed. But for the sake of this chronicle, speed will really only come into play during chase scenes.
Cool.
Or if you're trying to get as far away from something as possible. After speed, we've got willpower. Willpower is going to be one of your most important stats here. Your willpower score determines how many times in a session you can force a success. It is you pushing your body, your mind, your soul to its absolute limit to achieve something. It's probably mostly going to be used in combat, as that's kind of the high stakes, high stress scenario that you would need to really invoke a willpower roll, but you can do it on any roll. You spend 1 willpower point, it gets marked off. You get 1 extra die to reroll, or 1 success, whichever is more appropriate at the time. When you are out of willpower, you don't incur any mechanical penalties, but as far as role play goes, you will be fatigued. You'll be exhausted mentally, emotionally, and physically. It's in a role play scene, it would be appropriate for your character to not be engaging in really much of anything. Kind of a sensory overload kind of deal, where everything just kind of needs to stop and you need to just reset, because that's really what needs to happen. This is where your virtues and your vices come into play. In any scene, if you indulge in your vice, you can restore 1 willpower point. Or once per session, you can indulge in your virtue and restore all of your spent willpower. Indulging in your vice too often could result in your morality score lowering. But raising your morality back up will always be role play. Joe, you look a little confused. Is something the matter?
It's not. It's that I'm thinking through how would I use this as you're doing it, and confused about how my character would do it so far. I'm thinking through character concept, and I get what you're saying, and I'm trying to apply it to how I think I'm going to play the character. Just my thought process, and that's where the confused look came from. How am I? So where you're describing, you use this, and you can use this to recover that, and I'm like, how can I be a sloth to recover something? Like, and that's and I'm just thinking through that. So
Just lay on the couch.
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
everything resolves itself eventually. All you've got to do is sit around.
You guys go do it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
there's there are a few ways to do it. An important thing to remember about virtue and vice for the sake of willpower is you're pretty much always going to be making your case when it happens. When you want to do it, when you think you can do it, that's when you'll ask me, hey, I would like to do this. And I'm playing into my vice. I'm playing into my virtue here. Do I get my willpower back? And that's where I'll do the, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. Or I really don't see it here.
Yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just piecing together how the pieces may work based on the way I want to play my character after hearing from you how the mechanic is expected to work. That's the confused look, and I'm sure I'll carry that with without or throughout most of this episode as I'm trying to figure out this character. I don't know how I'm going to play it yet, but I know how I want it to come out. So that's figuring it out.
Alrighty, that goes through willpower and by extension, virtue and vice, which were next.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions on your advantages before we move on? Anything to clarify?
No.
9. All right.
Me.
And with that, we can finally move on to merits.
Merits.
So you have 7 dots that you can spend in merits, and the 5th dot in any merit costs 2 dots to purchase. Merits are a way to really what is it that wargamers call it? Add greebling to your character, where you give them that extra detail, that sharpness to it.
I hadn't heard that. That's kind of interesting.
Merits are divided into 3 categories: mental, physical, and social. Each merit, well, not each merit, but many merits have their own specific requirements. And I have the book itself does tell you where to reference for the specifics on each merit. That'll be chapter 5 in that book.
Chapter 5.
If you already had an idea of something that you wanted to add to make the character more fleshed out, but you don't know which merit would cover that, now would be the time to explain it, as I might be able to point you in the right direction.
So for me, at least, I haven't read the chapter 5 yet, but just reading that section where it's like mental merits, physical merits, social merits, they just have dots there and words, and I'm like, all right, what does that mean? And I don't know if it would help if I had actually just gone to chapter 5 to read it. Right?
Yeah, it's really fleshed out in
Okay.
chapter 5. My question is, so do we just pick the amount of merits until we get to 7 dots?
Correct. You don't have to spend all 7 points, but it is a use it or lose it deal.
Yeah, because so Joe, like some merits like ambidextrous, that's 3 dots. So that's 3 out of your 7 dots if you choose that one merit. If you choose brawling dodge, it's only 1 dot.
Okay. Yeah, I think that based on the look of this, it will take me some time to get through some of it.
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
There really are. That should be the final thing to really go over character creation. Beyond that, it should just be equipment, which is not going to be as relevant here, as most of the equipment that the book lists is either specialized tools that you might have access to, or firearms and armor, which you definitely don't. Like maybe between the 3 of you, there's 1 gun.
Research Team 12.
Mhm.
We got clipboards.
Yeah, like you've got a couple of 3 subject spirals, 2 binders, a kitty backpack,
A classic composition journal.
Yeah.
This may be mentioning the firearms. This may be something where I can help myself at least clarify when you were talking about your skill level. So I chose, after you had talked about having no dots is essentially you don't really know how it works, and having 1 dot is you kind of know how it works, so you got a good idea of it. So I put 1 dot in firearms because I want my character to be able to pick up a pistol, know how to turn the safety off, remove the magazine, reload it, but not a marksman or anything. Like I just don't want to be lost when I find a gun somewhere. Does one
Yeah.
dot make sense there?
Yes. One dot
Okay.
would absolutely cover that. It would one dot would mean that you understand the basic safe operation of any firearm that isn't like hypertech.
Okay.
It would
But
technically mean that you also, know how to point and shoot, but that's
Mhm.
kind of so ingrained in our
Yeah.
cultural knowledge at this point. It
Right.
really
And I'm
wouldn't
thinking
make sense
point
not
and
to.
shoot, but not necessarily hit because I'm not practiced in it or anything, right?
Right. And that's
Yeah.
reflected in the number of dice that you have. Only
Cool.
one in firearms means you don't really got a good chance to hit, and anything past like 10 yards, I mean, you're lost.
But I can pick up because I have one dot. This is the way I'm thinking of it too. Is like if I wanted to intimidate someone with a shotgun, I would know how to pick it up and rack the slide, the pump action, the kind of thing
Yeah.
to make it look like I know what I'm doing. But then I would point it in the wrong direction or something, right? But
That's where you
yeah.
would that's where I would call for something like a manipulation firearms.
Nice,
Since the shotgun is supposed to be a big part of that.
cool. All right.
That's one of the things I really like about the storyteller system is the flexibility as well as the specificity that you could have. Because if you want it to, like, you wanted to do an intimidation like that, yeah, you can still use your social attributes. You're just using firearms instead. Or I want to use my sheer physical presence. I want to show them. Then that would be I would roll it as an expression or a persuasion for a skill, but then use any of your physical stats.
Like that corn-fed mother you were talking.
Yeah, that boy.
That's none of us.
So
Corn.
Randy, I noticed
Now,
here that
the other one I'm looking at is language because I'm not sure if it makes sense for my character yet or not. But language, it says language 1, 2, 3. That
Yes.
means you choose how many dots you want to put into language.
Yes, you must specify the language that you're familiar with when you purchase it. 1 dot is you can read, write, and speak it, at least to a conversational degree. 2 is you are completely literate and effectively fluent. And 3 means that you are practically a native speaker.
Okay.
What's up, Eli?
I noticed you've got your merits selected.
Yeah, I think I'm happy with that, but I'm looking over them and I'm trying to fully decide if that's how I want to go.
Yeah,
I would say
we still have
just-
your sheet on the screen, Randy, so we get to see what you're doing, and Eli gets to comment on it in real time.
Yep.
I would just say to make sure that you fit the prerequisites for them. For example, disarm, it has a prerequisite of dexterity 3 and weaponry 2. Do you have those skills?
I see nothing listed on merits for that. What page is the full one on? Because this only tells me 8 dots. It has to have.
So the chapter 5, which is only merits, starts on page 108. Disarm itself is 110.
Okay, 108 glossary. Nope.
And just
There we
as a
go.
note, if you're using the PDF, go one number higher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm using-
So you have to put 109 in the PDF to go to page 108.
Yeah.
okay. I'm gonna look at the ones I've chosen compared to what I have. So
They're good merits. They work real well.
because of dexterity 3.
I mean, God, gunslinger. So dexterity 5.
Mm-hmm.
For a scientist, you are oddly good at shooting things.
He's
Are you- is your specialty like ballistics?
he just got really good with a pistol. So
Um,
that's what I was going for.
your
Can't fight with a darn, but
speaking
shoot you.
of
let's
specialties,
see. Who was
you
it?
have
3,
the
weaponry 2. Weaponry 2. I don't have that, so I can't use disarm.
on the note of your specializations. I've noticed that you've written the skill that they're associated with, but not what the specialization itself is.
Oh, because you were just talking about the skills themselves. I did not know there's a page for that as well.
No, specializations are something that you come up with. For example, for weaponry, you could have a specialty of clubs. So any sort of short, small bludgeoning implement, that could be your specialty, or knives, swords, axes, flails, and chains.
Gotcha. All right, I'll mess with that as well. First, I'm going to deal with these merits.
Absolutely. It was just something I wanted to touch on before it got forgotten.
I find it interesting that they put direction sense under physical merits. I would have thought that would have been mental, but it's there. It's interesting.
Yeah, some of them are a little weird, but at the same time, it's most of those don't usually have like a prerequisite. It's just more like a quirk of the writing team.
And it's like maybe the direction sense has to do with your inner ear, and it's a physical thing, not a mental thing. Okay, I get it.
Maybe you've got those one of those bird magnets in your brain. You always know which way is north because of the magnets in your brain.
Okay,
slightly changing there's a stunt driver merit. I didn't know that.
That there is.
Was
that Randy?
Slightly changing things made it available for me to actually use Gunslinger, so I took that.
Hey.
All right.
And we have how many dots to spend on merits? Was it 7?
7, yes.
Sharon.
Quick draw is fine. Gunslinger's fine. Now I just got 1 point left I can spend on something else.
Okay, I got a complex one.
Oh?
Status. What are the prerequisites for status? Because I'm reading like 17 paragraphs of text and I can't find it.
So, status. You'll notice that a lot of the social merits have a lot of text with them.
Yeah.
For status specifically, what group are you wanting to have status in?
I see. Okay.
If that's why it varies, because if you're trying to get status within a like a religious organization, like say the JW organization, I would say that you would need at least 2 in composure, and is there 2 composure and 3 in socialize, maybe.
Okay,
but then if you wanted to be like
professional,
what's that?
Licensed professional.
Isn't that the 4 dot vert?
It might be. I'm trying to figure.
Licensed in a recognized profession, blah 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 blah. Might be a PI and authorized to carry a concealed weapon, blah 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 blah. The prerequisites for a licensed professional are you have to have the academic skill specialty law, so if you're a PI, or science skill specialty demolitions if you're a building contractor. Anything along those lines to be a licensed professional, because what the book is presenting is this is what you need to have a concealed carry license or an explosives license, because that's the ones that are most relevant to the system. But if you can think of another one that you feel would apply, it would follow similar restrictions.
Okay, I'll keep thinking.
So I think I have ideas, or the ideas that I want for merits. Let me put it that way. Let me put mine up here now.
All right, show me that screen.
Yeah.
Now, chicka bow wow.
And you know what if I do this? That didn't actually make that larger. Oh well. Anyway, so here's again the character concept I'm going with is oblivious engineer, and I was just thinking about this. Oblivious / spiritual, I think, is the way I would want to put it. It's like oblivious, but like crystals, energy, and stuff like that, kind of new age kind of deal. But I picked meditative mind because I like the way that reads. Your character can effortlessly enter a meditative state when they choose and can remain in it for as long as they wish. Environmental penalties are ignored. Even wound penalties don't affect. I can easily see my character zoning out And that's the way I look at that, as a meditative mind.
Okay.
And then the eidetic memory, as a way of almost like, call it the idiot savant kind of deal, but being able to recall how to do something without really having to think about it. This character isn't going to think a lot. It's just going to act more on like hunches and stuff. And that's where, to me, the next two, the direction sense and then the unseen sense. So the direction sense would be like, oh, we already walked through that way. We don't have to go back through there. It's just that feeling of you already know where you were going and where you haven't been yet, and be able to determine that kind of quickly. Direction sense made sense for me there. And then unseen sense, I want it to be like a spiritual thing. It says your character has a sixth sense when it comes to the supernatural. Just to be able to, the hair on your arm stands up, you sense something odd, and all kind of from that ethereal attitude kind of feeling. And to me, at least, those are ones that made sense to what I was going with a character concept.
All right. How would you say your unseen sense manifests? I had a player.
That's the one that's the one I want to kind of figure out. Yeah.
I had a previous player who would get the smell of like freshly burned wood, ash in their nose and in their mouth.
My first thought is I almost want it to be kind of subconscious, like the back of my neck itches, and like every now and then I'll just reach back and like scratch the back of my neck, and then realize I'm doing it, and that's when it probably would happen. Something like that. Something that I can kind of play on. And you could even use it like, your neck itches or something like that.
Yeah.
Everything turns the color blue.
Yeah. Everything just becomes a shade of blue. Actually, the same shade. The world becomes one color.
I get dog vision whenever something supernatural is going to happen.
Guys, I'm seeing red. All right, man, you need to just calm down. No, I'm literally seeing red. I hear they make glasses for that. Not that kind.
The more I think about the characters, I want him to be more instinctive than thinktive, right? I don't have to think about stuff. It's going to be more like the things just happen. Yeah. And that actually leads me to another question in that. When it comes to that, does intelligence as like the highest number of dots for my attributes, does that still make sense, or is wits or resolve a better option for that? I don't know, because I don't know enough about where these things fit to know what might make more sense for that style of character.
So wits would be your best bet if you want to just move both points, but I would say that wits and resolve equally contribute to that.
Okay. So I think it's probably, for my character, it might make more sense to, go down to, two dots for intelligence? Is intelligence really going to come up the way that I've described it?
For the way that you're intending your character, it shouldn't, but it is important to remember that there are things that you will need to pay attention to, that you will have to actually think about. And that's where intelligence will be coming to play.
Okay. So I think for now, it might make more sense to do it what I just did. Just leave 2 on intelligence and then do wits and resolve both at 3.
That works.
Okay, cool. Randy's got his hands up. I'll step aside.
So I'm having a hard time thinking about a specialization to list for intimidation. All I could think of was maybe fearlessness or crazy eyes or something like that. That would I don't know how to.
So you could, as far as crazy eyes goes, you could have something like aura projection, where you're trying to use just your sheer raw sexy to get somebody to be scared of you.
Are we talking about Randy or his character?
Yes. Another specialization you could have would be the old good cop, bad cop routine. So I would allow you the specialization to cover both. So if you were playing good cop or bad cop, it works. Another one could be threats. Threats would actually be a specialization for it, because you can intimidate somebody without threatening them. I've done it a few times. I've had it done to me several times.
You said without using it? But wouldn't the specialty be using it?
Yeah, the specialty would be using it.
Okay.
The rationale for threats being a specialty is that you can intimidate somebody without threatening them.
Oh, okay.
Physical violence could also be a specialization. I mean, if they'll definitely know it's not just a bluff if you actually smack the shit out of them.
Well, my guy
uh,
carries around a surgical blade all the time, and yeah, I think he's going to use that and like the whole anime trope with the reflection on the glasses, and if you do see his eyes,
God.
the insane face. Yeah,
Intimidation anime tropes.
That's cool.
I'll do it.
You've got the glasses just whiting out. You've got the twinkle from your teeth with your sinister smile. You've got the half of my face is in a diagonal shadow. What else is there?
Evil laugh. But we're good by looks though, so I don't know.
All right.
This pretty much covers the whole anime trope, I think.
I don't know. I don't watch enough villain focused anime to really know.
You also have from the villain side. You also have the same voice. They almost always carry that Batman gravelly quality for the voice too.
Ooh, the voice switch, the code switching. So has everybody then settled their merits?
Yeah, I think so. I took. Where am I? There we go.
You're in your chair at your house.
What? Excuse me?
Yeah, it's Rick Moranis. That's what my character looks like.
I see. All right.
I chose encyclopedic knowledge. I figured
Okay.
my character is a super bookworm, being a subatomic physicist.
All right.
I also chose eidetic memory because that just seemed to fall into the same kind of trope as like he just knows everything. He's a know-it-all.
Okay.
I chose fast reflexes just to round myself out a little bit, because I am Rick Moranis. So when I shrunk those kids, I had to, he was hanging and everything from the.
Oof. How quickly I had to dodge the law, let me tell you.
You are also Dark Helmet. Don't forget that.
Of course, yeah.
His reflexes weren't too great.
No, they weren't.
See, my
Like
guy
Singer, though.
is a chemist.
So we have a quantum physicist, a chemist, and an engineer. My God.
Yeah.
This is
A
recipe
spiritual
for-
engineer, man.
I will say that my one specialization that I could think of was I was a yoga expert
and that's a specialization for what?
for athletics.
Okay.
Those
What
are his
about-
two passions in life?
What about for some of your higher skills, investigation and science? I think science is a clear specialty. Quantum mechanics.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Perhaps with
in
your
there.
bookish nature, investigation could be all-nighters.
Yeah.
Anytime you have to pull an all-nighter, you get your bonus. At least for the investigation skill.
I'm gonna write down some notes. Continue on.
Give me the
This is
answers.
a funny side note for me, at least. When Zeb just showed, he's got Rick Moranis as the avatar picture there. I was actually thinking of keeping mine as the generic avatar. If you look at the top right of his screen, I still have the generic avatar thing, which is just like a purple pawn. And my thought is, I almost want to keep that because I want my character's actions to be memorable, but not the person. Nobody ever remembers who this person is. It's just a plain normal person, but they remember that guy that was there fixed that obscure thing that was broken. So I'm almost thinking I might actually not pick a character look because I want him to be very forgettable.
Yeah, he was a
Definitely
guy.
not
He
Rick
just kind
Moranis.
of
Just use the emoji of just a man.
There was
default.
in more in the different splats, which is to say the different supernaturals versions for the game, like the extensions, mage, vampire, werewolf, mummy, etc. Those almost always have a merit that is the opposite of the stunning looks merit or the fame merit in this game, where instead of being easy to recognize and getting into places that you shouldn't because people know you and like you, people have difficulty remembering you and what you looked like, what you wore. I'm willing to do a 2-dot merit for forgettable, we'll call it. It would require that you would have a low presence.
I actually gave myself a higher presence because I thought more of that as when I read presence, I thought of it as being present, not presenting oneself, right? Being in the moment is the way I read that.
That's that's a valid way of reading that. And I do intend to use presence as that way, like in that way. Like, yes, I'm here. I tend to make changes in this situation for whatever it is. But presence is also supposed to be the strength of one's presence, of one's aura, how willing people are to look at you just because you're you. So somebody like a public speaker might have a very high presence. They know how to get an audience's attention.
And I guess the way I was thinking of it was that, but for the occult / supernatural / whatever. People don't care about me, but the energies around me care about me. I have a presence with energies, but not with people, is again the way I'm thinking of it. And in that way, does it make more sense to do more manipulation or composure compared to presence? Because I've got to use the 4 dots somehow, right? So I'm just thinking,
right.
Or 3 dots, sorry, in this case. So right now I put 2 of the dots on presence and 1 on composure. I didn't do manipulation because I didn't feel like I wanted a character that did something like manipulation when it comes to the social aspect of manipulation. I wouldn't manipulate people. Although maybe it would make sense. I don't really care about people so much as I do about the world that everyone lives in.
You know what? I like it. I think with your low manipulation score, you would qualify to take this 2-dot forgetful merit, but that does still count against your 7.
I'll have to think about that. I may drop the memory thing.
Excuse me. I think it would make the most sense.
Yeah.
Kind of lazy, maybe a little forgetful, but like when you anybody who could like scrub past the surface of the physical world would know, oh wow, that's a guy. What's going on with him?
I was just typing forgettable, and for some reason it looked wrong to me with 2 T's. But when you take one of the T's out, it's forge table, and that doesn't work. So it is 2 T's and forgettable.
No, I absolutely understand. I can't remember what I spelled the other day, but it just did not look right to me, and I was getting angry at it.
I do that so often. That's not right. I'm yelling at the screen, stop putting the red squiggly under it. I know I spelled it right. You lie.
You lie to me. I think
Yeah.
the one that gets me the most is when I'm like typing in like a Word document and I'll spell something and it says it's wrong. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's how that's spelled. And I click it.
Word, damn it.
We noticed that you're set to American English. Motherfucker.
Damn it.
How about all languages now?
Suddenly everything's misspelled.
Voice
Alrighty.
everything correct. You can just on the keyboard. It's like that's correct.
Any other questions, comments, concerns before we move past character creation, as this will be the last bit of it?
How do we go about arming ourselves? Are we going to start with anything, weapons, or nothing for now?
Well, let me interrupt on that because I do want to ask one more thing about specializations. While we're learning what our characters are, you said we can still make these up as we get started. We don't have to have everything day one.
I'll allow it. It would be
Okay.
best for you to have all of your specializations before we start. But if you want to bank one, so to speak, I'll allow that.
Okay. Because I think I've got 2, but you said how many should we have?
You should have 3.
3. Okay. So I got 2 that make sense to me. I'm just trying to figure out a third. So I'll do that. Okay. Sorry. Now, as far as like Randy was saying, like equipment, do we have equipment?
Due to the nature of your vocation, I will allow each of you to carry one specialized tool that has a cost of 2 or less, as well as between you 2 firearms that can be concealed in your pocket. So in the in the page directory that I sent for the firearm summary, I believe it's 154 or thereabouts. It'll give you statistics for your weapons, your firearms. Nope, 154 is combat summary. I've immediately made myself lost and do not know what to do anymore. 161.
All right.
I'm lost. Help me.
Yeah.
So in the firearms summary,
Grappling summary.
no,
Auto fire.
ranged weapons chart.
Firearm summary.
It's always somewhere, right?
So anything with a size of 1, you will have a total of 2 of those firearms between the 3 of you.
All right. So that's page 169 for
Yes.
firearm weapons chart. And then page 170 is a melee weapons chart, if that makes it.
Nice.
And then armor's also there on 170.
Correct.
So what is it we can have? Sorry.
Each of you will have one specialized tool that costs 2 dots or less. That can be found on page 140. Or that's where they begin.
I would like
On my mouse.
something.
And you said 2 dots? Is that what you said? Sorry.
Correct.
And then what about the weapon part?
Between the 3 of you, you can have 2 firearms that have a size of 1. So that
Okay.
will
I
really
would not carry a firearm. Sounds like Randy's character definitely would.
Yeah, it
Zeb
would,
would
but I don't
use
have the strength
carry?
for it, so I got to change stuff again.
Zeb, would you carry a firearm?
I wasn't thinking so, but I can
Alright.
if that's
Well, I can
necessary.
say my character definitely would not carry a firearm. Would use one, but would not carry one.
Yeah, I have nothing in firearms, and my strength is 1. So
All right.
they
I
would be
know.
issued to you by the BAAC as a self-defense implement.
All right. Now I can hold a fire.
my character is more of a mace or pepper spray.
I would like a light revolver if that works.
All right. So you will have to make note of that on your character sheet that you have a light revolver. You only had a strength of 1?
I
Wow.
think we all did.
Fucking
We all started with a
nerds.
strength of 1, but according to this, if you have a lower than the minimum strength, you have a -1 penalty.
Correct.
So it's not like you can't use it; you just have a -1 penalty.
It's just harder.
I'm going to leave my strength at 1 because I don't plan on using a firearm, and when I do, a -1 penalty will work.
I am actually looking at the mace. It doesn't have a cost on it.
Correct.
So how does that work? I can just have that.
It would be your one specialized tool.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So a specialized tool includes weapons?
No. I'm considering the weapons separately from the specialized tools.
Well, the reason I say that is because a mace is on the weapons chart.
It's talking like spray mace.
Oh, all right. I thought you meant mace as in the mace that's on the chart.
No, no.
Oh no, that's in the melee weapons. In the
I'm
specialized tool,
reading it. It's like mace metal, and it has no cost, or it didn't list a cost. So all of that matched up to what you were saying. But
Nope.
yeah,
So the melee weapon mace does have a cost. That has a cost of 2 dots.
Oh yeah. I understand now. I keep thinking sometimes when I'm looking at this that the cost that's like asterisks, but it's dots. Understand? Whew.
It can be a bit funky, especially if you're looking at like a smaller screen or a lower resolution screen, and it doesn't make it a circle.
So aside from the specialized tool and the firearm, was there anything else that you said we get to start armor?
No armor to start.
Okay.
You wouldn't be issued any sort of melee weapon. So you, as far as like notable equipment, you have your specialized tool and the firearms. Beyond that, you will have each of you a backpack that has basic sundries, a couple changes of clothes. Excuse me. You have your own smartphones.
Where do we find the specialized tool at?
140.
Yeah, 140 is where they start.
In
And it
Yeah,
just
it's
says
automotive.
equipment. It doesn't say specialized tool if you're looking for that headline.
Oh.
Yeah, it's equipment. Climbing gear.
It says Joe Young is a specialized tool.
Damn right.
I know
I'm
what
sorry.
I'm doing.
There's no line through specialized. You're just a tool. Sorry,
It's just a tool.
Joe.
Yeah. I'm trying to find something, Eli, that would go along with the stuff that I don't know, thought of for my character, and I'm not seeing anything. Maybe survival gear, because I think
Flashlight.
survival flashlight. Just a flashlight.
You gotta have the if you're fixing machines and stuff all the time, you got the flashlight
Yeah.
going off.
And that's what I was looking for, because the first thing on the list was automotive tools. I'm like, cool, other tools. No, it's either automotive tools or no tools.
Where do the specialized ones go anyway? Do we put that with our weapons, or where is there? There's no box for that. So
I found on the character sheet, if you look at the top, you're on page 1 when you're looking at your
Oh.
character sheet. If you click page 3 has stuff in there like gear and equipment.
I see.
I got lucky clicking around.
I clicked mentor. I should probably add a mentor.
Alternatively, what you could do is put in other traits the item and then fill in the dots for what kind of bonus it gives you.
That's a good point too. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
torn between first aid kit and silencer. Totally different specters.
It's silencer has a cost of 3, unfortunately.
That's true.
Oh, I see.
First
Yeah.
aid kit.
First aid kit it is.
You sure you don't want a gunsmithing kit?
So I guess
Yeah, gunsmithing kit
Oh.
costs 2 tools helpful in cleaning, maintaining, repairing firearms.
Yes, that's what I would definitely choose.
so. With the automotive tools, would it be all right to use that for fixing things that aren't automotive as well? I mean, could just treat them as general tools as well, or is there another way to handle that?
So here's the thing with automotive tools. You're going to have pliers, you're going to have wrenches, you're going to have screwdrivers. You're not going to have a hammer, but every tool's a hammer.
Right.
Like that. I don't know about you, but I don't think I've come across a job where I didn't need a wrench, a plier, or a screwdriver specifically.
Butter knife and duct tape. I'll fix anything.
Right? Clearly, you're not going to have like a soldering kit in your automotive tools,
Right.
Yeah.
but you would have those basic hand tools and perhaps an automotive diagnostics tool if you're getting it at the 2 value. So you have decent tools. You would still have your 10mm socket.
Yeah.
Paid
think-
extra. You've got a few of them.
For me, I think based on the things that are listed here, it's the one having tools is the one that makes the most sense, because I want to make it that my character can just kind of instinctively fix things. And to fix things, you kind of need tools. And I don't see anything else that really fits that. So that makes sense to me, at least.
Yep. I'm
with that.
following that line.
So I'm just going to put those. I'm going to take your advice there, Eli, and I'm going to put it under other. I'm just going to put auto tools and just click 2 dots on that. Cool.
All right.
Now you said nothing in the range of the regular weapons, right?
Correct. Like no melee
no
weapons.
brass knuckles or anything like that.
You would have to acquire those on your own time.
Okay. Cool.
Which actually does remind me, in your merits, you all will need to add resources too. This is something granted to you by your employer for this mission specifically. So it is not a personal merit. It's not counting against your 7. Okay. It's your stipend for this mission. The way the resources background works, you can afford perhaps 2 or 3 items of a cost of 2 in a single month. As far as number values, I think it's like $500 to $1,000.
I'm sorry. What's going in the resources again?
You will have a merit of resources 2.
2.
So if you find something in a chart that has a cost of 2, you can get 2 or 3 of those in a month. You would be able to afford an item that has a cost of 3, but at that point you will risk losing your resources.
Neat.
I'm
looking at like the armor chart, and I think it's interesting that they put archaic in there, so you could actually have leather, chainmail, or plate armor.
Yeah,
which is yeah.
What I find funniest about that is because of the way it's organized, you could have somebody equipped in like a Greek bronze breastplate, and it's just as strong as a late medieval steel breastplate.
Nice.
It's metal.
It's just the same thing. Yeah, that's cool. One other question I had, and this is just because it's on the character sheet. Experience. How's that handled? Like, what does it actually mean in this game?
Experience is the way that you improve your sphere or dots. Sorry, I slipped into my old mage habits, as those use spheres, not as separate to dots. It's a whole other thing. It's how they track the strength of their magic. So experience is accumulated to spend on new dots in your skills, whether it is a new skill or if you're just improving an old one. It can also be applied to things such as your attributes, I believe your merits as well. The game emphasizes that you should be spending points on things that you are actively trying to improve in the game. So if 2 of you are working on your main mission and one of you is says, you know what, I think we're gonna need more money. I'm gonna get a part-time job while we're down here, so I'll be active less, but our resource pool is gonna go up, so we can do more things with it. Then you would spend XP to improve your resource background.
And how does one earn XP?
XP is earned at the end of each session. The book goes into specifics for how XP should be doled out, but a single session should be worth anywhere between 3 and 6 experience points.
Is 1 experience point equal to 1 dot?
No.
Okay.
There's a chart in the book that specifies how much each different type of dot costs in experience points. Okay. When buying a new dot, you will always pay the value of the new score in experience points. So if something costs 3 XP per dot and you want to go from 2 dots to 3, you're going to spend 6 experience points because that's your new value. Vroom vroom, cargo fast in the background.
Yeah. We got a stunt driver here. Why not?
typically the only things that will be improved at the end of a session if you're spending XP is going to be your skills. Attributes will usually be at the end of what the game calls a story, which is a major plot point. It like if there's a gang war going on and you resolve that gang war, that would be the end of that story. That's where the game recommends you improve like your attributes or your merits if it applies. Chronicles, the end of Chronicles is really where everything is fair game. It's like, you know what? Yeah, just spend them how you like. By the time you get to the end of a Chronicle, you've probably racked up in total over 100 experience. Your mileage may vary depending on the length of the game. But that's the way it's supposed to scale. If a single session is 5 XP, the end of a Chronicle should be about 100 XP.
All right.
I
guess
also
part of what I'm thinking there is that based on your actions during the session? I mean, what actually means you get an experience at the end of a session?
So you'll always get one for showing up.
And I know you said it's detailed somewhere, but I'm just looking for summary. Yeah, sorry.
You'll always get one for showing up. You'll get another for participating in scenes regularly. You'll get another for playing to your character. That's where the 3 baseline come in.
Okay.
You'll get extra if you role played particularly well, if you advance the story in a specific way, if you met your goals, if you didn't meet your goals, but you made a concrete plan to do so in a later session. Those will also add extra XP. I also like to add in my own specialized categories where best scene and who gets the XP point for that. Funniest scene, who made me laugh the most. I dole that one out. And then just because I like you, where the group will talk about everything that's happened in the session and decide, you know what, I think with everything that went down, I think you deserve the extra XP.
Like the extra stars at the end of Mario Party.
Exactly. You know what, you got the most XP this session, have another one.
You collected a bunch of coins. There you go.
In fact, we stole some XP from everyone else. Here, have it.
Yeah.
Cool.
That should take us to the end of it. The actual sheet, the mechanics, the getting everything sorted section.
Is there anything like personal effects or anything that actually make a mechanical difference, or is it just like if you wanted to have a family heirloom something, is that something that actually has an effect in the game, or is that just, you can play off it kind of thing?
That's something that'll have a personal value or a sentimental value, is something that's really just going to be giving a role play opportunity. As far as the mechanical benefits that something would give, it would go to whatever it is most akin to, or we would have to have a discussion about that specific item.
And on that note, are there, for lack of a better term, because we're familiar with the D&D stuff, are there magic items in the world? Like, can I get the +10 Vorpal Sword of Demon Slaying or something? Right.
Nice.
That's where we get into discussing the setting of this chronicle. As you all are playing members of a research team for the Bureau of Anomalous Acquisitions and Containment, a pseudo-government organization whose primary purpose is to find, catalog, and then remove any unusual items or phenomenon. Other people would call it supernatural. Y'all just think, okay, yeah, this is a little funky. We need to get some scientists on it to figure it out. That is the basic premise. Your characters understand that there are weird things about the world, but nobody would call it magic. Nobody would say oh yeah, this is clearly a wand of fireballs. It's too far outside of the realm of possibility for you all, because remember, in this setting, it is a near modern world. Science as we understand it is just as we understand it. There's nothing extra, nothing else out there. You just have a job of finding anything that could be out there, things that aren't understood yet. As far as finding magical items, that's your whole job. If you don't report something, though, I mean, who knows? It's not like they're really shelling out the big bucks for any of this.
And you said it's pseudo-governmental. It's a private organization, though?
This is a private organization. It is a very secretive group.
We work on government contracts or something?
That's what's assumed.
Okay.
Nobody in your ranks, the lower ranks, really understands how the organization works. All they know is that you get paid, you have what's usually a fun job, and if anything happens to you on the job, you're pretty well taken care of. You're just not allowed to talk to anybody about whatever the fuck you do. The running joke is that every member of the BAAC is a park ranger, because you're always going to be in these weird out of the way spots, and you're always going to have some authority. So if somebody's there, you tell them, "Hey, you need to get the hell out." Well, who the hell are you? I'm park ranger. Oh, okay. That's the running joke, because so many other agents use that specific alias that now everybody's just kind of adopted it.
And if you're Joe's character, who is Sloth, he's a park ranger.
Oh. Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Randy doesn't get the made Eli laugh the most this time.
Not this session. And I will, on that note, I will not be doling out XP for this session.
Oh,
Damn
man.
it.
Somebody
Yep.
reach level 2 before we even play.
I'm going to make a new character then.
Yeah, same.
Look, if you want to go through the effort, that's on you.
It's definitely
back on me. He's going to crush you all.
So the rank structure of the BAC, which you all would be familiar with, goes as such. There are ranks. There is the director rank, which is the highest members of the organization, and then from there it's A through E. Rank E is the lowest rank. It is interns, maintenance staff, and any other lay workers within the bureau, people who are not in the know, so to speak.
So we are rank F.
No, you are actually rank D, the next rank.
Ooh.
This rank is reserved for field team members and research aides. So anybody that goes out to do any of this stuff is rank D. Anybody who stays to help the people that are figuring out the things that got brought back is rank D. Just above you is rank C. These are clerks. A clerk is anybody who manages up to 2 field teams or research teams, and they're the ones that are responsible for most of the paperwork. Rank C is
weren't even supposed to be here today.
Rank C is also assigned to dedicated researchers. Rank B is when you move from the agent category to special agents. Rank B is any sort of office manager, the people who run the buildings that these teams work out of. They're also the ones that coordinate cross-team operations. Above them, you have rank A, who are primarily responsible for managing any sort of containment facility. Any place that the Bureau puts the stuff that y'all take back, they're in charge of those places.
Librarians.
Yeah. Needless to say, they have the highest clearance rank for any sort of information that is not Directorate eyes only. Most anomalous phenomena is classified as B rank or higher, so you don't have details for pretty much anything that you are bringing in. The only information you would have for anomalies is anything that you directly interacted with to tell the research team, yeah, it did this when we did this. That would be the extent of your information on anomalies.
All right. So firsthand experience, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your team specifically will have been newly organized. Your time with the Bureau has been relatively short, a couple of years at most. As you showed promise in rank E, you were promoted to rank D. And now you're on your first mission. And it's they're not calling it a rescue mission, but they've told you right off the gate that, yeah, we've one of our rank C agents has gone missing in this area. Like, everything went dark at once. His phone, his laptop, his little fitness tracker watch, all of that just gone in an instant. We don't know where exactly he disappeared in, as there's a lot of strange interference in this one town where he was in, but there are a few local rumors that you can investigate. Primary one of those is the statue of Saint Andrew, located in a local church. You're going to be sent there with the equipment that you have. You can choose your own aliases. You just have to tell your clerk what those aliases are so he can keep track of them. You will be going there as under the disguise of cryptozoologists looking for a chupacabra variant that sucks bones instead of blood.
Mm-hmm.
The town itself is in the Copano Bay area of Texas. It is a fictional town by the name of Copano Nuevo. It is primarily a industry town. The biggest ones of those being a steel mill and a paper mill. There's also a rather large brewery opening up here in the next few months. You've been arrangements for lodging at a motel have been arranged, but you only have the motel for 2 weeks. If you have to stay any longer than that, then you're going to have to pay for it out of pocket, and you'll be reimbursed once you get back, if you get back.
If you get back.
They've already lost one guy who was better than y'all.
Oops.
God damn it, Cat.
We're attacking them with numbers, apparently.
Hey, I mean, look. They've already lost.
If you can't get them with quality, go with quantity.
Yep. They can't really
Well,
afford to lose any more rank C agents.
Yeah.
Last guy had to see his way out of it so that us Ds can move in.
Exactly.
Randy, just because he said he wasn't going to give you experience for being funny doesn't mean you can stop being funny.
Well,
Any-
I am a D student.
That's a
Any
little better.
questions about the setting?
All right, so it was you said St. Andrews. We were acting as zoologists to what now? Sorry again. I was trying to write it down.
Your cover is a bunch of cryptozoologists trying to find a chupacabra variant. A fake blog has been set up, and you've been given the credentials for it.
The for me at least, I do have a question, at least setting related, in that when you say it's near modern, is there anything that we have in our current, 2024 world that definitely is not in the world we find ourselves?
The reverse, actually.
Oh, okay.
In this universe, the COVID global pandemic was not as severe. So there are fewer restrictions on things like when stores are open, what is available to actually purchase, and I would say most importantly, people actually go out and do things.
Okay.
You won't have to
Lucky?
be visiting. You won't have to be visiting people's homes when you're investigating. You can meet at a coffee shop and not pay $15 for half a cup of coffee.
We could just do everything over Zoom. We'll be all set.
Uh,
Can you put
As-
your laptop camera in that corner? I need to see if there's a ghost.
there's really not any difference. I say near modern because of the way certain other splats are handled. I mentioned the term hypertech earlier. In a Chronicles game, a Chronicles of Darkness game like this, hypertech does exist. Clearly, we don't have that in our world, depending on how you look at it. Like, you're not going to find photon beam cannons, but you will have really cool laser pointers.
Cool.
Any sort of sci-fi item like that is pretty much not going to be in play, at least for you guys.
Well, once we graduate to a higher grade, perhaps, right?
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe it'll be like that Men in Black scene when Kay takes Jay to the armory. Anything else regarding the setting, regarding the mechanics?
No,
Not
good.
this time.
All right.
Yeah.
In that case, oh, excuse me.
Oh, beautiful ending.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and start with your characters. You will have been driven down to Capana Nueva from your base of operations in Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
The bluegrass state.
Sure. Getting to the motel, you do check in, gather up what minimal belongings you have, open the motel door, and find laying on the bed is the end of the episode.
In the bed? Ew.
It's waiting for you.
It is.
Do they not have cleaners here? What the?
Listen to me like
One of
one of
those
your
coin-
French episodes.
One of those coin-operated massage beds. From
Don't put
is
the
a-
coin in.
It is a rather seedy motel. It's clear that they did not get you much of anything. There's actually not even a Bible in the little bedside table. It's gone.
So seedy, it's for the birds.
The end of the episode ate the Bible. That's what it was.
Yep.
Because that's what it does. All right, then. With that one, we're going to wrap this episode and look forward to getting our adventure started on the next one. So for now, we can all say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
If I click the right button here. Is it this one?
You better.
The preceding podcast was brought to you by One Joe Young. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com.
I'm excited for our game in the world of darkness. Wah, wah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.